Right about now, the whole church would stand because it'll be time for the choir processional. And you'd see the choir director standing in the front while the whole choir is lined up in the vestibule. Huh? And they'd have on the robes that didn't have no cuff on the sleeve. They just had and they had a V-neck overlay. Y'all know what I'm talking about? And the choir director would just stand in the front and do a hand like this. And the whole choir would, y'all know what I'm talking about? They would stand in the back, and it was time for the choir processional, and the whole choir would come in singing it just like this. Oh, you know we've come on. You ought to be standing up in your house while the choir comes down the aisle. Come on. That's it. Yeah, come on. You know we're trusting in His holy word. Oh, He never failed. He never failed me. Come on. Oh, sing it. Hey, turn around. And right about now, Deacon Clemens will come out the side and he struck out on a song. He would say, I will trust. That's it. Come on, say it. In the Lord. I will trust in the Lord. Yeah. In the Lord. Come on, one voice we say, I will trust in the Lord. Say it. In the Lord. How long, church? Until I gonna trust in the Lord until I die. If that's your testimony, say yeah, say yeah, say yeah, yeah. My.
Well, this is the day the Lord has made, and we're here to rejoice and be glad in it. I want to welcome you to Bible study today, and I hope that you're blessed and walking in the favor of God. It's such a blessing, such a privilege, and such an honor to see you. It's a joy and an honor that you allow us to come into your space to share with you something that's so precious as Bible study. Welcome to Hope TV. I'm Dewey Smith, Chief Hope Dealer here, and I'm just excited to have this opportunity to share with you. I appreciate you so very, very much. Everybody who's tuned in today throughout all the various platforms, Apple TV, Roku, Twitch, Amazon, YouTube, Facebook, IG Live, my IG Live, Periscope, the 3 different websites. That's the House of Hope, ATL.com, that's edewismith.org, and the Hope TV. Have you and welcome, and thank you for being a part. Won't you drop me a line and let me know the city, the state, and the country from whence you're viewing. We take your viewership very, very seriously here. And we want you to know that we have programming all day on the Hope TV every day, about 12 to 14 hours of programming. From exercise Monday through Saturday, 8:30 to show for men, show for women, married couples, singles, senior adults, youth, finances, mental health, you name it, you can find on the Hope TV. So if you get a chance, go to the hopetv.com, check out the site, and you can stream everything live there as well. So if you want to help us to share the program and help us to share the network, it means a lot to us. I really, really appreciate you. And if you're watching through a platform that will allow you to subscribe, to like, to comment, or to share, won't you help me with that? Every time you subscribe, you can get notifications as to when content is uploaded. Your likes, your comments, it helps our algorithms tremendously. It really does. It helps us to grow. I don't know if you know this, but I've been sharing recently. I got the news. I'm so thankful, and so just amazed by the favor of God. Our first program was on March 16, 2020. I call it my meager attempt to stay in touch with the members of our local community here at the House of Hope, where travelers rest. And from March 16, 2020 until today, February 10th, 2021, we've had over 100 million views, 100 million via the cumulative platforms. And that's just the favor of God, and so it helps us all to trust in God. It helps us all to, I want to thank our praise team for such an apropos song that I'm going to stay on the battlefield. And this is not a playground, it's a battlefield. And things get rough and things get tough. And many of us have been challenged over the pandemic, but we got to keep our trust in God. Solomon says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. But in all your ways, if you acknowledge him, he will direct your paths. And I hope that we're all trusting in God. So if you want some good inspirational content, just stay with us here at the Hope TV. Then this network is growing by leaps and bounds, and I'm excited about the stuff that's yet to come. So to God be the glory. Share the link. Let people know that you're watching. I appreciate my IG family. Thank you, Tina Williams. I see you on Facebook. I see Sharp Baby and Faith Walker, Oklahoma David. So many here. Georgia Peach, Faith Walker, so many. B. Michelle, Connie Brown, Larry Stokes, Gene Kempson, all on IG Live. Welcome. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you being a part. Listen, we're going to get right to our Bible study. I don't want to hold you all day long, and I've been excited. We started this series last week called Purpose Principles, and I'm probably going to spend about 2 more weeks on it. I didn't finish it last week, but it's called Purpose Principles. I didn't finish lesson 1. So I got to figure out how we're going to do these other 3 lessons in 2 weeks. But God's going to get us through it. Now, what I want to share with you is if you want to download the outline, you can simply do something very, 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 very simple. You can go to HOHATL.com, or you go to houseofhopeatl.com, houseofhopeatl.org, either one of those. And you can go to the link where it says Bible Study Notes, and you can actually click out the Bible Study Notes. You see them? This is the Bible Study Notes for today. You can go click the Bible Study Notes, and you can study along with us. You see right there, it's Purpose Principles. And so this is a Bible study lesson for today. So I want you to do it because I want you to have all the notes that I'm going to be sharing with you. So if if you in a position where you can't take notes, you can just get the notes along. This is archived on Facebook. It's going to be archived on YouTube, where you'll be able to go back and get it and watch it again. And we're going to try to archive it on IG Live today too as well, so you can go back and watch it again and share it. But I want you to get the notes. You can go to the website. I think it's HOHATL.com, House of Hope, or houseofhopeatl.com, houseofhopeatl.org. Either one of those will work. And click the link that says Bible Study. Click that link and come right to that Bible Study link, and you will see the Bible Study where it says Purpose Principles. And you can download it. As a matter of fact, you can download it from the phone if you want to. So I appreciate y'all. Good to see you, Tina Williams on Facebook. Appreciate y'all so much. I thank everybody for being a part. God bless you. God bless you, Gene. Welcome. Miss you guys, Gene. Hope you're well. Connie Brown. God bless you, B. Michelle. Gene, I met your son too. So God bless. Met your son. So God bless you. All right. So we're gonna get ready to get started. Y'all ready to get started? We have a great time today in the Lord. And I'm excited. We're talking about purpose. This is a very, very important subject that we're talking about today. And I want you to really, really get this in your spirit. We're talking about purpose principles. Y'all share this link. Share this link. It's going to be a great, great time and a great word for somebody today. Great time and a great word for somebody. I think when we talk about purpose, and I'm going to share with you why. Let me kind of just hit some things I hit last week by way of introduction. A couple things we said last week is about purpose. And Miles Monroe, the late great Miles Monroe, I have so much respect for. My goodness, we're gonna miss him, but what a legacy he left. He gave some tremendous nuggets on purpose. But one thing I want to share with you about purpose is failure to understand the purpose of a thing will always lead to abuse. Good to see you, Lisa, from New Jersey. God bless you on Facebook. Failure to understand the purpose of a thing will always lead to abuse of it. If anybody doesn't know the purpose of something, unfortunately, what will happen inevitably, you're going to abuse it. And that's why it's important to know what the purpose of a thing is. Because if you don't know what the purpose is, you will abuse it. So failure to understand the purpose of a thing will always lead to abuse. Listen, here's another thing that blessed me last week. I hope y'all got this for those who didn't tune in last week. Listen carefully. Every invention had an initial intention. Hope y'all hear that carefully. Thank y'all for the hearts. Thank you. Good to see you, Jamie. Good to see you, Elisha. All smiles. Every invention had an initial intention. Think about it. Whenever something was invented, there was an initial intention behind it. Let me give you an example. This is an ink pen, right? This ink pen, okay? And this whoever invented this ink pen, what was the intention behind the invention? The intention was to write. You could write something. So this ink pen had an intention behind it. Are you listening? Whoever came up with the idea to invent this, that was an intention. Listen carefully now. Hope you get this. That was an intention before the invention. Okay? Something had to precede the invention. The invention doesn't start first. The intention does. Now you may think this doesn't make sense, but it's going to make a lot of sense to you. There was an intention behind this, and because of the intention led to the invention. Intention leads to invention. Invention doesn't lead to intention. Intention starts first, and then from the intention grows or comes. From the intention emanates the invention. Now, this is going to be very, very important in a minute. Very, very important. Now, you think this is talking about an inanimate ink pen, but it's much deeper. All right? Intention is first, invention is second. Now, this is number three. I like this one. I want to go back and hit this for you as well. Things with an initial intent can be used for other purposes. Do y'all see that? It can have an initial intention or initial intent, but it can be used for other purposes. Okay? So things with an initial intention can be used for other purposes. All right? Now, I want y'all to watch what I'm saying by this. Okay? I just told you the intention behind this ink pen's invention, right? The intention was so that we can write. All right? So that we can write. You can write not from a pencil where it can be erased, but to write in pen. So the intention led to the invention. The initial intention behind this was to write. You with me? But just because something has an initial intention doesn't mean it can't be used for other purposes. Let me give you an example. I'm using this pen now for an illustration. But it wasn't invented to be. It wasn't invented to be an illustration. It was invented to be a writing utensil. Got me? I'm using it now to illustrate a point, but that's not why it was created. It was not invented to be the object of illustrative usage. That's not it wasn't used for that purpose. I'm using it to point a point. Let me show you something else. It was the intention behind the invention was to be a writing utensil, but just because it was created with one intention, it can have other purposes. Right now, I'm using it for an illustration. Let me tell you something else. If my ear start itching, and I can't find a Q-tip, I simply put this thing right here. Lord forgive us. I hope nobody no ENT people are watching now. Tell the truth, shame the devil. How many of y'all watching? I'm guilty. Am I right behind it? There have been times in my life I couldn't get a Q-tip. Didn't want to put my finger wouldn't go deep enough in it, right? So what I would do sometimes is I would get this right here and stick that sucker right down and scratch and get rid of that itch. Am I talking about who's ever done it before? Right? Now was this created to go inside the ear? Absolutely not. Is it supposed to go in your ear? Absolutely not. This is dangerous, right? But it can give you some periodic relief if you can't get to a Q-tip, right? Am I right? Now, let me share this with you. Now, here's what I want to get to. It's easy to contaminate invention. If you misuse a thing, you can hurt yourself, right? And you cannot get the best usage out of what this was created for, right? The problem with us sometimes is we love things and use people. Here's what we do sometimes. We often use people and rather than things. People were invented to be loved. People were invented to be cared for. But we often use people rather than things. Now, but you can, if you're not careful, you can misuse purpose. And if you can misuse purpose and cause harm to yourself and not fulfill. This was not created just to clean, to mess your ear, to scratch, for you to help get rid of something that's itching. This wasn't created to relieve ear itch. And let me tell you what the problem is with this. If you use this pen solely for the purpose of getting rid of an ear itch, you never allow this pen to live up to its full potential. Now, can you get rid of an ear itch with it? Yeah. You can get rid of an ear itch with it. But was it created to do that? No. Will this live out its fullest potential by being used to get rid of an ear itch? It would absolutely not. Now I said all this. Now I'm going somewhere with it. Just like this pen was created That was an intention behind the invention. Whoever manufactured this had an intention, and the intention led to the invention. Let me tell you about you and I and I'm going to use the same word. We are, let me use the same word just for the sake of we're human beings, but let me just use that same terminology just for the sake of the point. You and I are inventions. You and I are creation. We are inventions. That was a great manufacturer, a great creator, who in his mind said, I'm going to create. Let me use that same word just for the sake of this argument now. No, we're not. Let me just use the same for the sake of analogy. That was a God, our God, who in creation said, I'm going to make some human beings. All y'all, all of us who watch it, I'm going to invent you. Just use that word. Don't get, I'm going to invent you. I'm going to create you. But guess what? But just like this pen, the invention doesn't come first. The intention does. The intention comes first, then the invention. So with you and I, brothers and sisters, we were not invented with no intention. God didn't create us and then say, okay, well, let me help them. Not, but what they gonna do when they get here? Yeah, we were. Yeah, you're exactly right. And that we were made to worship. But He gave us. Let me tell you what. And I said this. I can't go up there last week, but let me just hit a few things. And you can go back to get last week's lesson because I'm not gonna be able to go back there because I'm not gonna finish if I do that. But let me tell you what God said about Jeremiah. All right. In Jeremiah 1:5, God said about Jeremiah, there was a divine intention behind Jeremiah's invention. God said about Jeremiah, He said, Jeremiah, listen, family. He said, before you were formed in the belly, right? Before your invention, I knew you. And before you came out your mother's womb, I sanctified you and I ordained you to be a prophet to the nations. So you know what that means, fam? Fam, listen what that means. What that means is, Jeremiah, you had an intention before your invention. Before you ever got in your mama's womb, I already had thoughts about you. I already had intentions for you. Jeremiah, before you came out your mama's womb, I had such intentionality about you that I sanctified you and I ordained you. Jeremiah, you were sanctified and ordained before you ever came into this world. So the only reason why you have an invention is because prior to your invention, I had intention. Are y'all listening to me? Jeremiah, I had divine intention for you. And the divine intention led to your human invention. Jeremiah, you only have human invention because of divine intention. Right? So this is why this is so important for us, brothers and sisters. Because sometimes on earth, we will think if we're not careful, we can get here we can get here and not even know what our purpose is. We ask those three questions of existentialism that Karl Barth and Paul Tillich, great existentialist scholars. You know, who am I? How did I get here? Where am I going? And here's the problem: because many of us we have invention, but not know our intention. What we end up doing, we use an ink pen as an ear scratcher. And how many of us? And how many of us right now? How many of us right now? Think about this. How many of us right now are on earth but don't know why we're here? And if we don't know why we're here, we'll always end up being. We can always abuse purpose. If we don't know why we're here, we will always we will either abuse our own purpose or we'll allow somebody else to abuse us. Because whenever you don't know the purpose of a thing, not knowing the purpose of a thing will always lead to abuse of it. And not knowing the purpose will also lead to the contamination of it. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, why are we here? Why were we created? Why were we born? We were born with a purpose. We were born with talents. We were born We were born with something to do here on earth. That was something we were born to address, something we were born to accomplish, legacies we were born to leave. And so what happens a lot of times is we end up abusing our own purpose, or we end up allowing people to abuse us. Because think about it, we're like the ink pen, that we don't know the purpose of it, we'll use it for an ear scratcher. But yet this was created not to be an ear scratcher, it was created to make marks, indelible marks, that you can't erase with a pencil pen. Let me tell you something. Just like this ink pen was created to leave indelible, remarks and leave imprint and impact that can't be erased. This is a pen. And when you make this mark, you can't erase it. You and I were born to leave marks on earth that can never be erased. You and I were born to contribute and to do something that's bigger than us, to empower and to encourage someone else. But here's a problem. But how can we leave a mark that is not an erasable mark? How can we leave it with our pens if we're using the pen as an ear scratcher and not use it to make the mark? And the question I think I can ask ourselves today, when we talk about purpose, think about this. What marks are we leaving? Are we leaving the marks, or are we just using this for temporary, unhealthy pleasure? We're using this. Are we being used here on earth beneath our potential? Are we fulfilling the intention behind our invention? If I'm just this ink pen that's scratching the ear, even though it may provide temporary relief, I'm not living up to the intention behind the invention. So the question we got to ask ourselves is, what marks are we leaving? Marks that can't be erased, non-erasable marks. And may today we be empowered and encouraged to leave some marks that will never be erased. In our families, on our jobs. My God. Somebody said, and it says, we're made to go to school, born in 6 months, but doctor didn't know. My God. That's the way it is. There's a purpose. That is an intention behind the invention. I hope that makes sense. That was kind of 1 and 2. All right. I hope that makes sense. And here's why this is important. Because sometimes life in the enemy will make you doubt yourself. Have you asking yourself, okay, why am I here? All right. Why was I born? Am I fulfilling my purpose? And like I told you last week, there's a difference between purpose and career. It's very, very important today. Just because you're in a career doesn't mean that's your purpose. Don't ever try. Sometimes many of us can make a career out of our purpose, but sometimes our career is not our purpose. Sometimes our career is just for, I said this last week and it came out of nowhere. Sometimes our career is just for employment. Our purpose is for contentment and fulfillment. This is why you can work on a job for 20 years and be so unfulfilled. You can work, you can go to school, get a degree, student loans, you thought you wanted to do something, but you took a career because you want to make money, something you like, something that you heard can make money, something that you thought was stable. But it's possible to be on a career and be unfulfilled. Because true fulfillment and contentment only comes when you fulfill your purpose. So if you're unfulfilled, don't make the mistake of thinking that your career will always fulfill your purpose. It won't. Sometimes you got to find something else to do. Sometimes you can have a career, but your purpose is to mentor girls. So sometimes dancing and mentorship, being a Girl Scout leader, teaching ballet, being a cheering coach. Sometimes you may not necessarily get paid for your purpose. The career brings you employment. Purpose brings you contentment and fulfillment. Let me tell you something, brothers and sisters, do me a favor. Whatever we do, don't look to your job, your career, for fulfillment and contentment. Make sure you always understand this is my place of employment. Now, sometimes you can be employed by your purpose, but it doesn't always work that way. If you can do that, that's a blessing. If you can find your purpose on your job, that's wonderful. But that's not always the case. Sometimes you have to go to other places to fulfill your purpose, and it may not be any compensation behind that. Okay, very, very important. Okay, now let me keep going. I hope that's making sense. Now, people say, well, how will I know what my purpose is? This is point 3. I'm gonna do point 3 and 4 today. I did number 1 and 2 last week. But sometimes your purpose will not be found in your career. Don't always make the mistake of thinking that you'll fulfill purpose on the job. I got to keep saying that. Don't always make the mistake of thinking that you will fulfill your purpose on your job. The job may not be for the purpose of fulfilling your purpose. Career is for employment. Purpose is where you find contentment and fulfillment. Now, let me talk about the passion that fuels purpose. Okay, people say, well, how will I know what my purpose is? Let me ask you this question. What are you passionate about? What are you passionate about? One of the things that that Paul talks about, the office of a bishop, he said, if any man desires the office of a bishop, that's in 2 Timothy 2 and 1. If any man desires the office of a bishop, he desires a good work. Sometimes your purpose is based upon what you desire. Okay. Now let me say this right quick. About purpose. The passion fused purpose. Let me say this about purpose. The thing that you are, the thing that will your purpose be passionate. Your purpose may not be passionate, but you find passion in your purpose. Sometimes the things, in other words, here's the question. That's a great question. Christ for Christ apparel. Sometimes you have a passion for something. Let me tell you something right quick, and I hope y'all listen very carefully, right? When you read the story of Moses, let me do this very, very quickly. Thank you, Holy Spirit. This was not in my notes, so y'all pardon me for digressing. In Exodus chapter 2, you find the story of Moses. I'm going to hit it for you right quick. I want you to read it, jot down your pace on your notes, because this was a straight fact that I just got from heaven. Pneumatological facsimile, Holy Ghost fact, straight out the heaven's fax machine. Moses in the Old Testament is raised as an Egyptian, although he's a Hebrew, right? He's a Hebrew, but the Pharaoh was an Egyptian, and the Pharaoh was scared. He didn't know Joseph. He was scared that a war broke out. The Hebrews would fight against the Egyptians. So his mother, Amram and Jochebed, his father and mother decided that they wouldn't kill him because they were supposed to kill all the baby boys. It was a governmental homicide. They were supposed to kill all the baby boys as soon as they were born, right? Let the baby Hebrew girls live, kill all the baby boys, all right? But she hid him for 3 months. She put him on the river, put him in the ark after 3 months. Pharaoh's daughter was down seeing the ark and went and saw the baby, called Moses' older sister, Miriam, said, go get one of the Hebrew midwives. She went and got a Hebrew midwife. Miriam was so smart, had some black in her, went and got a mama. And Moses' mother ended up getting paid by Pharaoh to raise her own child. What a mighty God we serve. But anyway, Pharaoh's daughter raised Moses as her own, but unknowingly she paid Jochebed, his natural mama, to raise him. But he's a Hebrew baby raised as an Egyptian, right? Well, we find in Exodus 2:11 through about 16 that what happens is later on when he's grown. Now remember, he's born with this. He has this duality. He's a Hebrew by culture. He is an Egyptian by upbringing. He sees an Egyptian being beating up a Hebrew when he's 40 years old. So what's he going to do? He sees an Egyptian beating up a Hebrew. Moses goes out and he kills the Egyptian. He didn't like the Egyptian beat up the Hebrew. So he had this duality. Which one he gonna do? I see an Egyptian mistreating a Hebrew. And even though I got all the enjoyment of Egypt, I'm still a Hebrew, right? So he goes out and kills the Egyptian. The next day he sees two Hebrews fighting. And he tried to stop them from fighting. They said, "Oh, what you gonna do? You gonna come out and kill us like you did the Egyptian?" So he had to leave for 40 years, right? But the first time, check this out, the first time that we see Moses having concern and compassion for his own people, when he was 40 years old, that he tries to stop that Egyptian from beating up that Hebrew. Well, because he killed an Egyptian, he was going to be a fugitive and go to jail. So he leaves for 40 years, ends up in a place called Midian. And then God shows up and said, "Now, Pharaoh, Moses, God told me to tell you." God says, "My Moses, you got to go back to Egypt and tell Pharaoh, the Egyptian, to let my people go." But here's the thing. But he had a passion to see his people delivered. He had a passion to see his people set free from Egyptian domination. He had a passion, and he had to wait until he had to grow in that passion. But Moses had no idea when he killed that Egyptian that 40 years later he was going to be responsible for delivering the Hebrews from Egyptian bondage. What am I saying to you? I'm saying to us today, brothers and sisters, that sometimes the thing that you've been passionate about your whole life, you can look back 20 years later, some things you did when you were in school, sometimes that may be the thing that God uses you. I saw a report the other day on the news about a girl who was an orphan, grew up in an orphanage, and she was just, had a rough childhood before that orphanage, but they treated her so well, and she got she went to school and just grew in life, but now she's a veterinarian, and now she likes to work with dogs who've been orphaned. Y'all hear that? She was an orphan as a child, grew up in an orphanage. Now she's grown and she likes to work with dogs who've been abused and orphaned. So what happens is, it's as if it was in her formative years that she developed a passion for orphans, and now she's taking that experience. So this is a good point. Sometimes in our lives, there's an autobiographical link that God will connect you to your future by the things you've been passionate about in your past. So sometimes you're looking, what are my passions? Look back in your past and see what's always been there. Sometimes God is dropping little hints about our purpose all along the way, but we don't catch it. We don't catch them because we listen to other people. We don't catch them because we want to make money. We want to catch them because people don't understand. But sometimes your purpose has been there all along. The passion has been all along, and God is trying to develop it and mature it to point you in the right direction. So this is why you have to be careful to not let people tell you what you're supposed to be doing. And sometimes you got to be careful when people come to you and tell you, "Oh, the Lord God told me to tell you about." That's fine. The Spirit told me to tell you. Yeah, that's right. I believe in the Holy Spirit, but just because the person said the Spirit told me to tell you, you got to ask them what spirit, because every spirit they're speaking from may not be a God. God gives you passions and gifts along the way. And sometimes those passions and those gifts can be the thing that fuels your purpose. All right. So you need to have a sincere desire. So the passion that fuels purpose. Often your purpose is attached to your passion. Often the thing you're passionate about is your purpose. It's like, as a kid, God gave me a passion for music. God gave me a passion for media. God gave me a passion for singing. God gave me a passion. Well, I actually love preaching. You could have told me at 3 years old, when I was 2 and 3 years old, when I was preaching around the house with my auntie, or when I was 4 years old, started playing the guitar. You could never told me that all these years later, I'll be playing the guitar, or I'll be singing and loving music in church. You could never told me that. But all that was being developed along the way. Even my love for media. Think about it. So sometimes it's in you, but we don't see it because we don't think it's enough. Let me tell you something. That passion is always there. And even if you're on, it took Moses 40 years to figure out. Moses had a passion for Hebrews' deliverance when he was 40. He just went about it the wrong way. When he killed that Egyptian for beating up that Hebrew, that was the first time we saw him wanting to be a deliverer for the Hebrew people. The problem is he wasn't mature enough to handle it. So God had to put him on the back roads in Midian and let him learn how to be a shepherd and mature him. And then when he got mature enough, God said, now you go back and fulfill your passion. And your ultimate passion is freeing Hebrews from Egyptian domination. But Moses, you didn't start that when you were 80. You had it first when you were 40. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense, man. I hope that makes sense. So sometimes routine. So sometimes your and my purpose it's attached to a passion. If you know what's my purpose? A lot of times your purpose is attached to your passion. All right? Let me keep going. So you need a sincere desire. 3B, you need a submissive disposition. In Isaiah 6, verse 1, it says, in the year King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord high and lifted up. He said, and the train of his glory filled the temple. This is, and then Isaiah says, then flew one of the seraphims under me, which he had taken for a long, light, cold tongue from off the altar. And he laid it upon my house, upon my mouth. The whole house was filled with smoke. Go to 5 and 6 for me right quick. Go to 5 and 6 right quick. Go to 5 and 6 right quick. He says, and he laid it upon my mouth. He says, and when he laid it upon my mouth, he said, lo, this is touched thy lips. I said, somebody says, when I was a child, I wanted to be a psychologist, in the radio. That's funny. I understand that, but it could be that God's, sometimes even radio you minister to people. Isaiah said, woe is me, for I'm undone. I'm a man of unclean lips. I dwell amidst unclean people. My eyes have seen the King, Lord of hosts. Then he said, and laid upon my mouth, and said, lo, this touched thy lips, and thy iniquities is taken away, and thy sin purged. And then verse 8, he said, I heard a voice saying, whom shall I go? Whom shall we send? Who will go for us? He said, then said I, here am I, send me. We can't stay here. We got to come up higher. So demons, no deceit, no defeat. The devil is a liar. God is exalted. You'll never be defeated. I want to speak victory in your life right now. That no matter what's happening around you, that you will not be frustrated in your purpose. That God's going to keep you. Working you shall perform it. God's going to finish what God starts. God's going to show you that you're not an ear scratcher. You weren't created. The intention behind your invention was not to be an ear scratcher. The behind your invention was to leave a non-erasable mark that nothing is going to stop you from fulfilling your created purpose. In the name of Jesus. I want you to just type that in the comments if you can. I was created to leave a mark that can be erased. Come on, type that. I was created to leave a mark that can't be erased. I was created to leave a mark that can't be erased. That's why you were created. Created to leave a mark that cannot be erased. Come on, type that in. Type the comments. I'm gonna leave some marks. I'm gonna leave some positive marks of legacy, positive marks of breakthrough. I want to pray with you right quick. Those of you who may be frustrated in your purpose right now, what I want you to do is get your phone. I want you to text the word prayer. Text the word prayer. I want you to text me right now. Text the word prayer to the number 678-201. The word prayer to 678-201-1351. Everybody who's been frustrated, get your phone. 678-1351. If you're in your community and you want somebody in your community to pray for you, just say, will y'all pray for you? You can type that in. Will y'all pray for me? Okay? Now, text it right now. Lastly, if you want to connect with our church, text the word